I'm Megan Maggi, joined today by Katherine A. Shaw, U.S. Army veteran. We are at the Military Order of the Purple Heart Convention in Norfolk, Virginia. Katherine, thanks for being with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, let's start at the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
Actually, I was born in Massachusetts, but I lived all over the country because my father was Air Force, so we got stationed in quite a few places around the country. I call South Carolina home because that is the one location where I lived the longest.
Okay. And you mentioned before we started filming that you have quite a legacy of service in your family. Talk about that.
Yes, I'm 8th generation military service, going all the way back to the Revolutionary War, where they were guarding the woods of Maine against the British. There's actually been someone in my family who's fought in every American conflict going back to the Revolutionary War. And we now have a 9th generation because I have a son-in-law that's serving active duty and a future son-in-law, my daughter's fiance and my granddaughter's father. He was medically retired due to his injuries from Afghanistan.
That's quite a legacy, so I take it that was an inspiration for joining the Army?
It was. Especially growing up in a military family and community, and my dad was in the Air Force and he retired Air Force.
Okay. Talk a bit about when you joined.
I first joined in '96 and was stationed in Germany. I was a medic. And then when I came off active duty, I was in Arizona and I joined the reserves. And then when 9/11 came, I was living in South Carolina and I was in the IRR, which is like inactive reserves. And so when the war broke out, I went back into the reserves. And then a funny story is that unit activated. I was in a medical unit as a medic, and that unit activated, but they were overstrength in female medics. So I was reassigned to a unit up in Kentucky, even though I lived in South Carolina. And I never drilled with the unit in Kentucky. They told me to find somewhere to drill in South Carolina, so I did. I found a National Guard unit, and so I started drilling with them. And then I didn't just drill with them, I became a part of the unit, so I transferred to the Guard. And then in 2005, I went back active duty. The war was still going strong, and I felt like I was a decent medic, and I wanted to do my part for the war.
So you talk about the various places you served and were stationed.
I was stationed in Germany, and I was in the reserves in Arizona and in South Carolina, and I was in the Guard in South Carolina, Army National Guard. And then when I went back active duty, I was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Okay. And eventually you served in Afghanistan, correct?
I did. While stationed at Fort Campbell, I was deployed to Afghanistan, and that's where I got hurt. My truck was blown up by an IED, improvised explosive device, and I ended up with a back injury and a brain injury from it. That was in late 2006.
Okay. Was your treatment in Afghanistan, or were you sent to Walter Reed?
No, my treatment actually did not start until 2007 because I knew I had a back injury. But it was I came off the truck for a few weeks. I didn't realize I had the brain injury. It was right before the big push for the brain injury, and I was a medic, and I figured, all right, as long as I can still see and I'm, could still hear, and it was very different times as far as the training and the criteria for battlefield brain injuries, and so. I knew I was off, but I thought, well, I just have combat stress because they're trying to kill me. I just figured my nerves were shot. And so it wasn't until I got back in February of 2007 when I came back off deployment, and it didn't clear up. And so that's when I realized, okay, something else is going on here. Let me get this checked out. And that's when they found out that actually I had permanent brain damage. And that's when they found it.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about recovering. Did you go through, what kind of treatment did you go through?
I did. I went through rehab. First, I will say this, the Army's got a wonderful program called the WTU. And it's where if you're wounded or have some sort of injury, excuse me, which in which you can't perform your job, your military job, then they put you in the wounded unit. And your whole job while you're in the wounded unit is to go to all of your medical appointments and receive whatever treatment that you need to receive. So I was transferred to the wounded unit, the WTU, and then I was sent actually to Vanderbilt for brain rehab. I had to have rehab treatment for that, and also I received quite a lot of physical therapy for the back injuries and my knees. So, yes.
How did you eventually become connected with the Military Order of the Purple Heart?
I earned my Purple Heart, obviously, from my injuries. And when I came back, I just happened to run across the Military Order of the Purple Heart online. And I thought to myself, well, I think I might qualify to join this organization. And so I did, and I would say that was 2008. I've been a member since 2008, and I started going to local meetings with the local chapter there in town, and eventually our state meetings, and now here are our national meetings.
Very nice. How has the foundation benefited you, and how has it helped with kind of transitioning into civilian life?
The organization also, they help all veterans, regardless of if you have a Purple Heart or not. But there are so many resources out there for veterans that you don't know about them, or you don't know of all of them, and how you might be able to utilize them, or how it might benefit you. And the Military Order of the Purple Heart helped point me in the right direction of different things that during my transition that they were able to help me with, and make sure that I was able to get into the VA system, because we have our own VSO officers, and to help you with your claim, as well as to help make sure you're getting appointments and things like that. And also the transition can be quite a difficult time. And so they're also there to help if you need any type of adjustment. There's a lot of organizations out there that can help you with that, and they help point you in the right direction to make sure that you're not out there alone, that you either are coordinating with them and getting the help that you need, or the resources that you need, or they're helping to contact the organizations so that they can then contact you.
Very nice. Tell me a little bit about the work that you currently do with the organization.
I am the Senior Vice Commander for the Department of Tennessee, and actually my husband is the commander for the Department of Tennessee. So we are a Purple Heart couple, and so he is the state commander, and I'm like his XO. I'm the next in line. So we kind of work as a team, and of course we're always working on membership, and also within the community with veterans and transitioning veterans. It can be an overwhelming time, and we now try and put out what resources are out there and help. And it doesn't necessarily have to be if they're, but definitely, they're getting treatment in the VA, but several veterans that we know of, a lot of veterans struggle during their transition, and just to help them navigate through the transition, and any anything that might arise with their specific situation to try and help get them to the right resources.
Very nice. Anything else you'd like to mention about kind of transitioning into civilian life and that process and how that was expedited or made more helpful through the Purple Heart Service Foundation?
When you do transition, everything is the unknown. And the military or the Purple Heart actually helped with my VA claim and helped make sure that I was able to get signed up and able to go for my appointments and treatment through the VA. And because of that, my transition was a lot smoother because you know, your claims process at times can take a while, but with the watchful eye of the military or the Purple Heart, it was not extended. It wasn't expedited, but it was not extended. So they were on top of, you know, each step of the way.
Very nice. Well, Katherine, you've served our nation for some time now. When you think about your service, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of my service as a medic. And regardless of whether it was active duty or in the Guard or the Reserves, because I really felt like my fellow soldiers knew that I cared about them and did the very best medically, you know, that I could for them.
Talk a little bit about your work as a medic. You had experience prior to serving?
I did. I was a medical assistant before I went into the Army. And so I had a little bit of a medical background, but it's a little bit different type of medicine. That's more office medicine versus field medicine. Field medicine is more Johnny on the spot, EMT type situation, so that you can make it to the next step back, you know, leading all the way back to the hospital.
Very nice.
But I also feel like that my medical assistant background gave me the knowledge and experience to also work with a diverse population, because the military population is generally young and healthy, young males and females. And so while deployed, I also worked with the local, helped the local population during medical missions. And so that was a wide age group, from little children all the way up to geriatric. And so my previous experience as a medical assistant, I felt like really helped me in that aspect.
Very nice. Well, Katherine, is there anything else you'd like to say about your service?
No, God bless America.
Katherine, thank you for your service. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's been a pleasure. I'm joined by Katherine A. Shaw, U.S. Army veteran, and we're speaking at the Military Order of the Purple Heart Convention in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm Megan Maggi, and this is Veterans Chronicles.